medical school. We also have a section for IMGs, how to make their application better. What are the tips we're going to give the panelists? And this is a big program in the sense that it may be like it may last for 2 hours because there'll be a lot of questions. So please be patient. And if you have any questions, put it in the chat box. But don't repeat the same question over and over. Be focused. And we have 10 panelists today, which is wonderful. I don't think we have ever had that many program directors or the chairs of the programs. And this is a privilege to have all of these very accomplished people helping the medical students or the IMGs to get into residencies. So this is very rarely done in API, but this time, we wanted to do that. We did one program a few weeks ago for high school and pre-med students, and that was very successful, attended by more than 330 people. And I thank all the panelists for that meeting, as well as Dr. Himanshu Pandya, who is the chair for that program, as well as this one. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Dr. Himanshu Pandya. Himanshu Pandya is from New York. He's an internist, and he actually has been a big supporter of API, and he has served on many committees, including mentorship committees. And let me just find his introduction here. And he's a board certified internal medicine physician, and he runs an urgent care in Queens, New York City. He's on the board of directors of New York Health and Hospitals Corporation, and he's the chair of health committee of FOGA USA, which is the parent organization of all Gujarati associations in the US. It represents about 1.6 million Gujaratis, and he has served on many boards. It's long list of things, accomplishments of Dr. Pandya's. We are so proud of Dr. Pandya, his accomplishments, and his service to API. And then we have on the panel Dr. Shirin Doshi, who is from Detroit area. She is the lead physician advisor, and she's a family practitioner, and she kindly agreed. We both met in Japan and South Korea trip, and when I asked her, she graciously accepted to be on the panel. Not only that, she also brought Dr. Supratik Raymaji, who is the internal medicine residency program director, and Dr. Praveen Narahari from Huntsville, Alabama, is the program director for psychiatry residency, and he kindly accepted to be here today. Dr. Rakesh Surapaneni, who is my, we are the alumni of the same medical school, Siddhartha Medical College. He's an associate program director in internal medicine residency from Austin, Texas. And Dr. Shashank Kraliti is the chair of Department of Family Medicine from Little Rock, Arkansas. And Dr. Randy Woods is a surgery, former program director of surgery residency. He's from Dayton, Ohio, which is my hometown. I know Randy for the last 28 years. He's a very good friend, excellent surgeon. He really, accepted the invitation right away to help us. And I thank Randy for being here today. So these are half of our panelists, and I request Dr. Pandya to introduce the rest of the panelists. Dr. Pandya.
Thank you, Dr. Kathula, and thank you all the panelists for joining this Sunday morning. Let me introduce to, when I was looking at the credentialing about each and every one, it looks like how can I cut down to just the introduction? But I just wanted to give you briefly, Dr. Hanadi Dargam. She is a residency program director and assistant clinical professor of family medicine at St. Joseph Medical Center. And she had extensive experience in the program leadership and developing the program at St. Joseph Medical Center. The second one, we have Dr. Ashok Kanugula. And Dr. Ashok Kanugula is a program director at a Wellstar Health System, Splending, Georgia. And just going through the credentials, same thing, extensive experience for leadership and doing the excellent academic skills. So thank you. Third one, we have Dr. Srinivas Karagola. And I think most of the IMG knows him because he is involved so much for the international medical graduates, helping them. He himself is a pain management, but he is very much involved into the IMG, guiding them. And if you look at that, definitely we are very happy that he is with us. The fourth one, we have Dr. Jaivir Rathore. Dr. Rathore is an assistant professor of neurology at University of Central Florida College of Medicine, also site director for neurology residency program in Orlando, Florida. He is the co-chairman of Epilepsy Foundation of America, Florida chapter since 2021. He is a medical director and president CEO of Doc J's Advanced Neurology and Epilepsy Freedom Center, Orlando. And Dr. Rathore is among the 3.5% of US physicians who are triple board certified diplomats. He has extensive resume, but looking at that one, we're very happy also with Dr. Rathore joining in this today's seminar. The last one we have Dr. Supranik Raimaji. And Dr. Supratik Raimaji is a professor, also Associate Dean for Clinical Affairs, College of Human Medicine, Director, Internal Medicine Residency Program at Michigan State University. And looking at the resume, also strong academic and leadership skills. So thank you everybody for joining. And thank you all the participants for joining. This one, me and Dr. Kathula and everybody, entire panel was working. Zishan, Dr. Srinivas was working for a long time just to come up with getting all the experts on one platform. Thank you.
So, so we'll have some panelists answering some questions because we have 10 panelists. We have to be a little bit more organized. So we are going to invite 3 or 4 panelists to talk about one topic. And the first topic is what do programs expect when somebody is applying for residency? What they should know, what kind of expectations programs have. For that, I would like to invite Dr. Shirin Doshi, Dr. Rakesh Surapaneni, Dr. Hannity Abu Darga. Vijay, can you unmute all these panelists? Dr. Shirin Doshi, Dr. Rakesh Surapaneni, and Dr. Hannity Abu Darga.
Thank you. I don't know who do you want me to go first?
You go ahead first, Dr.
Okay.
Doshi.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very excited to be here to help to explain kind of the whole process, to be part of this esteemed group of colleagues. I am a former program director and director of medical education over many different osteopathic residency programs before the ACGME and the AOA combined to basically have single accreditation. So I have been in that type of a role for about 15 years and overseeing many different residencies. And as the director of medical education, I would say, what are the programs looking for? To answer that question, they're looking for people that have, a breadth of experience in different areas. We are looking for well-rounded people who have, multiple interests, not just in academics and medicine, because that speaks to a little bit more about their personality as well. We're looking for people that also are proactive with their education and who have sought out extra opportunities to learn, to be active in the community, to volunteer. And whenever you are applying or picking a program, it's really important to do research on that program and to not go into any type of a situation blindly to where you are just not familiar with, what is offered at the institution and kind of the basic nuts and bolts of the program. Most of the programs have a very good website that explain a lot of details about, you know, what are their base requirements, what are the scores that they may be looking for. I know at some point I thought we were all supposed to be going to a pass-fail thing, which makes it a little bit more difficult with the USMLE. But even so, they're looking for people that not only have strong academics, but also just a well-rounded individual with a lot of different interests and someone who's really proactive. So just make sure that you're looking at those websites and you're coming up with a good list of questions to ask ahead of time in case you are able to get an interview. And I think we're going to talk about the interview process a little bit later, but those are my initial comments.
I can go next.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Doshi.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Katla and Dr. Pandya for organizing this excellent event, and the AAPI leadership for organizing this excellent event. And I'm happy to be here. I agree with everything that Dr. Doshi mentioned. I know this is a very common question the applicants also ask in the interviews. What are you looking for in a resident? What is your program looking for in a future resident? When I was on the other side of the table, when I was applying for residency or fellowship, I thought the programs know exactly what they're looking for, and they have a clear criteria on how to pick that right resident or the fellow. Right now, in my role, currently, I oversee multiple, I'm the DIO for my organization. I oversee multiple residencies and fellowships. This is far from truth. The programs want to find the right resident that's an excellent resident that comes in and fits right into the program, is an excellent team player, one that has a great knowledge base, has good clinical skills, has that common sense, and is trainable. So they have they want to get that right resident, but it's not easy for them to pick that resident. Even if one resident struggles behind in some of the core competencies or have some clinical issues, it's so difficult from the program or the GME office where I am to kind of go, it's a lot of effort that goes into helping them. We want to help all our residents and fellows, but it takes a lot of effort to help them. So we want to find that right resident or the fellow. I know there's a lot of IMGs joining in today. Some of you might be familiar with the 6 core competencies. If you're not, I would advise you to go and look up on the ACGME website or Google it. It's all over the place. The 6 core competencies are the patient care, medical knowledge, interpersonal skills, professionalism, practice-based learning, and systems-based practice. So those are the 6 core competencies. All programs, when they're interviewing it, even if they are consciously doing it or subconsciously doing it, their evaluation forms will have touch all these core competencies, because that's what they evaluate their residents and fellows on. So it's important for you guys to look at those core competencies. If somebody's coming from an US medical school, they are evaluated on the dean's letter or on some of their letters that we have. They're evaluated on these 6 core competencies. So it's easy for us to look at that. But if you're coming from an FMG, if you're coming from an outside medical school, it's not easy to figure out. Not all core competencies have equal weightage. When you're doing the interview process, the programs look for a little bit more. In my experience, they're looking a little bit more, especially for the FMGs, on the medical knowledge piece and the interpersonal skills piece, a little bit more. Those are the 2 things that, at least from the FMG standpoint, they're putting a little bit more focus on. From the medical knowledge standpoint, as a program, it's very difficult for FMGs to be evaluated. If you're from a US medical school, we have strict criteria: what tier of the medical school you are coming from, what quartile of the class you are. Some schools will give you quartiles, US medical schools will give you quartiles, some schools won't. So, but we have some criteria of how we can evaluate you. If you're coming from an FMG, if you're an FMG coming from like an outside medical school, sometimes it's not easy. Some schools we recognize, some schools we don't. But then at the end of the day, we have to unfortunately depend upon your USMLE, either your step 2, if you have finished your step 3, so we have to use that. If you have done a fellowship or you have some training in UK or done some kind of a extra training after medical school, that helps a little bit about that medical knowledge piece that I talked about. The second thing is interpersonal skills and being a good team player and communication. That's very important. And that's something very difficult for the programs to evaluate. That's one piece that they want to look at, but that's very difficult for them to evaluate. How are we evaluating applicants on these soft skills? We're looking at your clinical rotations. Have you done clinical rotations in the US? You understand how are you communicating on the day of the interview? Have you done any volunteering? If you've done 10 different volunteers or the president of a club, then we know that you're a good team player. If somebody's played like sports all their growing along, or like team sports or something like that, those are soft things we look at to kind of identify how good of a team player you are, because these days the medicine is practiced by a team. It's not just one person anymore. I know the other panelists will talk about what to do's and don'ts, and how to make your application look great. I'm going to stop here so that we're on time. Yeah.
Thank you, Rakesh. Appreciate that. Dr. Hannity Abu Dargam, the next panelist to talk about what do programs expect. Dr. Hannity, are you there? Sujit, can you text her, please, if you have her number? Okay. So, Dr. Pandya, let's go ahead and introduce the next panel of speakers on the topic.
Sure. So next topic we have how to make the application better. And the panelists, we have Dr. Praveen Narhari, Dr. Jaivir Rathore, and Dr. Randy Woods.
Who wants to take first? Dr. Narahari, Dr. Rathore, Dr. Woods.
I'll go ahead and take a stab at it. Yeah, first of all, thank you for arranging this panel session. This is a great opportunity for all of us to kind of get together and hear various viewpoints on the application process and how difficult it is for many folks. So I think ours was how to make the application better. So assuming we're all working through the IRIS application, which may not be for every specialty, but I think it's at least you can make it work for any of the various applications. Most of the application is set, right? I mean, where you went to medical school, you passed step 1, your letter, your dean's letter is pretty much set in stone. There may be some small tweaks that you can do to it. So the part that you can actually work on at this point in the application phase is really being able to describe your volunteer activities and describe them well. I generally think, I was a surgery program director for 6 years, I genuinely think that quality of volunteer activities, solid 3 or 4 is much better than listing 10. I'm not saying don't list all those that you did, but be able to speak to those that really were of value to you and that you spent time on, and be able to prepare to do that on the interview trail also. There's text boxes, or there's areas to describe the volunteer activities, describe what it means to you, obviously describe what it was, but really what you got out of it in the way of learning capabilities about yourself, any type of reflections on medicine or life in general. I think leadership opportunities are extremely important, so be able to list those and be able to do that. And then lastly, at least from my perspective, and I think more and more of the applicants to residency programs don't have a linear path. When I went through training 1,000 years ago, I mean, we all had to say, a traditional path. But now, if you've taken time off to do other things, whether it was in preparation for getting into medical school or because you needed to take time off medical school for family events, be able to explain those and what it meant to you. The gaps in training are not as big of a red flag as they once were, but if the applicant really can't explain what they used that time for, it starts to break down to, is this person really committed to this lifelong profession of learning? And so being able to explain any type of I don't want to say gaps anymore, because that makes it sound like it wasn't useful, but be able to explain those times away from education, I think is extremely helpful for the folks reading your application. I'll stop there, and if there's other questions, I can answer them.
Thanks, Randy.
Dr. Rathore needs to be unmute. He's on mute, so. Dr. Rathore.
Dr. Rathore, can you unmute yourself? Ms. Vijaya, can you unmute Dr. Rathore, please?
All right. Yeah, it was not allowed earlier. All right, 1 second.
So can you make all the panelists co-hosts so that they can unmute themselves anytime they want?
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, thank you, AAPI. Thank you, Dr. Kathula, Dr. Pandya, everybody, for organizing this great. I think this is the first time that I'm seeing so many panelists, and it's widely attended. Myself, I'm Dr. Javier Rathore, and I'm a board-certified neurologist, neurosurgical epileptologist from Johns Hopkins and Cleveland Clinic. Currently assistant professor at University of Central Florida. So my point on how to make your application better, I'm going to quickly go over 9 pointers that I think is the core for making your application strong. First thing is score is your core. Okay, when you are preparing for USMLE, make sure you score very well. Try not to have any attempts that makes it difficult. Scoring for neurology, as far as I know, from the last matches, 246 was the average score of the matched applicant. But that does not mean if you score 230, 235 or something, it's going to be impossible for you. But you will have to add something more on your plate to be competitive there. Okay, as an IMGs, let me tell you this honest truth, that we are third choice for most programs. First choice is American grad who has doesn't need a visa and doesn't have an accent. Number 2 choice are American citizens or green card holders who go to other schools, not in US, maybe Caribbeans or somewhere. The good thing they see is that they know Caribbean schools, they do all their clinical rotations in US. They don't need visas and they don't have accents. Third choice, people like me and you, most of us, who are from some good school they don't know about. You may be from one of the best schools in India or some other countries, but they don't know about. Number 2, we need visas. Number 3, we may have some accents. So if you really want to get matched, you need to offer more on your plate and be in competition with the number 1 choice. All right. I've done this. I've matched at internal medicine before I switched to neurology, been to top 2 hospitals in the country, Johns Hopkins, Cleveland Clinic. I know what it takes. It's hard, but it's possible. Okay. It's not impossible. So number 1 is score. So try to score as much as possible. All right. Number 2 is letter of recommendation. A good word of mouth from a U.S. physician is really important. And again, your own word of mouth for yourself, that is personal statement. Make sure you take time, write about yourself. That is your chance to tell the program that why should they pick you. All right. So make sure you put in effort and time and write your personal statement very well. Number 3, step 3. Most US grads do not take step 3 when they are matching, all right, or applying. So to offer something more and be in competition, try to get your step 3, preferably before application, at least by the end of the year. At the time in January and early Feb, when the rank order list is being prepared, make sure you have something new to add to your profile. Step 3 is a big one. Some kind of publication or abstract presentation is a big one. So make sure you have a New Year handwritten greeting card sent to those programs that you're interviewing with, so that you attract them back to your application and they rank you well. And so if score is the core, your step 3 is the icing. Cherry on the top is your research if you're baking your USMLE cake. Research, always, it takes time. A few months of here and there rotation doesn't add a whole lot. You need to dedicate some time on that right from the med school days, internship, try to do case reports or whichever, and always keep a backup plan of a research fellowship if you can possibly. Okay, I've done research fellowship, published in Harvard, the validation of PHQ-9. So always keep that as a backup or ongoing on the side. Apart from these, they want to see when they interview, if you're invited to interviews, they want to see as a well-rounded personality, not just a good score on exam. So make sure you have some volunteer experience in the specialty of your choice or in medicine in general to show that you care, you have enthusiasm, you have dedication towards medical science. Leadership roles, get involved in your school level or sign or something like that, so that you show that you have a personality, leadership. You will be a team player when you are joined in the residency program. After this, the 7th point comes is start early on your ERAS application as soon as the tokens are available, because it takes time to revise, write, make it better. So start early. Don't wait until last moment and then in haste you're doing your application. Apart from that, networking is very important. So first thing, thank you for joining today. This is your first step if you're joining for the first time in networking. Attend your specialty annual conferences. Go to ACP if you are in internal medicine. Go to AAN if you are in neurology. Meet people there, your fellow colleagues, your program directors. There are a lot of sessions there that will be really helpful. And then my last point, 9th point, is reach out to your medical school seniors who are already here in residency programs or faculties. They always have that soft corner. And if the program knows that somebody from that med school did very well in their program, they always have preference. So make sure you do all these. My 9 pointers are these, and I'll be happy to take questions later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Rathore. I think we're Dr. Praveen Narhari is on the Zoom now.
I don't think he's here yet. No.
Okay.
So let's go ahead with the next topic. What are the do's and don'ts during the interview process? For that, I would like to invite Dr. Randy Woods, Dr. Hannity Abu Dargam, and Dr. Shirin Doshi. So I'm not sure whether Dr. Abu Dargam is here or not, but please go ahead, whoever is available, Dr. Woods or Dr. Doshi.
I'm happy to go if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I did just want to briefly touch on, someone had been asking questions about the American Osteopathic Association and, what is that? That's a huge topic. If there are medical students on this call that are interested in hearing about osteopathy, I'm a doctor of osteopathic medicine. So I went to the top DO college in the country, which is at Michigan State University. It has been the top for many years, one of the oldest. So I can definitely speak to any of the, I don't know if there's high school students, if there's medical students, if there's anyone who is not yet in school who may want to consider an osteopathic pathway. I'm happy to do that, but it's a long discussion and it's not probably appropriate for this venue. So I can put my email in the chat and you can let me know if you have questions about it. So the question about the interview process, I will be very blunt with you that I have interviewed many students over the years who have appeared quite bored during the interview. And it probably, to their credit, is because they're interviewing at so many different places that they're getting fatigued from doing it. And they're probably not even sure which program they're interviewing with. And that is just sort of what has happened with interviews, is that people are doing so many because they're so scared and they want to get as many opportunities as possible. So that's one big no-no. Please don't act bored. Be engaged, be actively looking at your interviewer, come with questions, make sure that you are responsive, and that you are taking an active role in the conversation. If you are more reserved and quiet, you'll have to push yourself to really try to be part of that conversation in an active and meaningful way. this is sort of the one time that some of these people will ever get to see you before they make a decision. So it is important that your impression is a good one. And some people are nervous. And so I would definitely recommend that you practice interviewing. Come with a handful of questions and do it with people that you know and trust who can give you good, honest feedback. So those are my initial comments, and happy to comment further if needed.
Thank you, Dr.
I can't add much to that. That was a great summary. I do agree that you have to be on your game when you're interviewing. So, at this point, you've gone through the application process, and the program director or the committee has decided this person looks interesting. We'd like to know a little bit more about them, so we're going to invite them to an interview. And it matters not whether it's in person or virtual. It's the same. It's the same process. So you have to be able to discuss yourself and sell yourself, which many of us, especially those who are going into medicine, that may or may not be our strength. But nonetheless, you have to be ready to do so. I think leadership, to answer a question in the chat, is leadership. The best leadership is leadership that you participated in and that you gained something from, and it need not be in the medical field. Obviously, if it is, it is. But if it's not, so much the better. I think don't assume the interviewers have read your IRIS or your application. Most do beforehand, some will do afterwards, and some never will. It depends on what their role is. Many of the schools are going more to a holistic interview process where each interviewer or each group of interviewers has a particular point or aspect of your view of your personality or your application that they're kind of charged to investigate. And that may or may not need them to read your application. So if they don't know your personal statement, don't become frustrated. Answer the questions, and if it's in the personal statement, that's fine. They have read 40 to 100 applications, and they may have forgotten about it, or they may not have read it well enough. So take the opportunity, every opportunity you have, to explain yourself, be enthusiastic about the opportunity. And lastly, I would say, do a little time before you interview to know about your school. They're going to give you, no matter what specialty you are going to, I'm sure are going to give you opportunities to ask questions. So if you have some true, honest questions that you have of the program, that would be the time to get them answered. And that would be the time to show I actually care about you a little bit, that I did some research. I think for many of the proceduralists, especially those in surgery, they may ask you about an interesting case. It would help that it's a surgical case. But let's face it, I mean, many of our paths, our clerkships and our fourth-year medical student rotations may be scattered amongst various hospitals. And so it may be that you didn't have a great surgical clerkship or sub-I to that point. But I would think interesting cases need to be cases that you find interesting. And that gives me, as an interviewer, the opportunity to ask you more in-depth questions about that medical topic. Do I think everybody coming out of medical school should know thyroid disease? I don't know. Thyroid disease is pretty deep. But if you talk to me about a thyroid cancer case, then you better know about thyroid cancer. And that just shows to me that truly that was an interesting case to you, and not that you were just picked one. It doesn't have to be world-class, cutting medicine. It can be a perforated appendectomy that had post-operative complications, and how you bonded with the patient and the family and got them through the case. It need not be some new medical journal case. It just needs to be something interesting to you, that you took an interest in the patient and the disease process, and that you can demonstrate that in the interview. Thanks.
Thank you, Randy. I think Dr. Abu Dargham is joining. So is Dr. Abu Dargham is here?
Good morning, everyone.
Hi, good morning.
Sorry, I thought this is, our time here in California, and it turned out this is Eastern time. So thankful for Dr. Poonam for his call.
Yeah, please go ahead. We are on the topic, interviews, interview process, do's and don'ts, what the medical students should be aware of.
definitely. So as a program here, the dues, kind of to start with, what we expect is that the applicant, should be professional at every step of the way, So every, every, interaction, even, including with coordinators, right? We expect, every step to be a professional step. We also expect them to be prepared, right? So kind of go to the website if there is a website for the program, if there is any sort of social media, right? Know more about the program, research the program, beforehand, before, showing up to an interview or even before applying to that program. The expectation is that they know the program well. And they don't have to kind of indulge in the every single detail, but kind of the majority of the websites, they do have key facts about the structure, the strengths of the program, even the mission, the value of the program, goals and objectives. So kind of all these need to be kind of reviewed or looked at beforehand, to see if they do fit in the program. So from us, definitely we look at if the applicant is a fit for our program, but also they need on their end to see if that program is a fit for them. And the best is to try to research that program as much as possible. What we ask also, we want applicants to be authentic, like be themselves, right? Like be yourself. Kind of programs can tell whether these answers are kind of overly scripted or not, right? So how to build connection is by authenticity. So this is something that, we definitely can sense from their personal statements, from the LORs that we get. So authenticity is something that we look for. Clear communication is another, do that we definitely look at and expect from an applicant. So what we kind of when questions are asked, right, answers kind of expected to be more, kind of answered thoughtfully and concisely. Have them, what we expect is that they're listening actively to these answers, or sorry, to the questions. And, even if the question is kind of little complicated to them, or they don't have the answer right away, it's okay to pause, gather, their thoughts, and then answer. There is no wrong in doing that. Be prepared. Some of the questions that we ask are kind of common questions, right? So if they're applying to the family medicine residency, let's say program, right, there are some of the questions that kind of are expected, right? Like why they're applying to that field, why they're applying to that specialty, right? So what is the interest there? If, let's say, here at St. Joseph's Medical Center, the population that we take care of, let's say it's underserved population. So why that interest in, applying to a program who takes care or who treats underserved population? So some of these questions are kind of common questions that are asked. So the expectation is that they be prepared. And enthusiasm is a big thing, right? So if you're applying to a program and interviewing, the expectation is that you're showing interest, that you're showing that enthusiasm. We do actually review like every year, almost around, between 800 to 1,000 applications. That's a lot of applications. And when they sit to the, we bring applicants on for interviews, some of them are kind of, there's no interest there, like you can tell. And our interviews since the start of the COVID has been, mostly Zoom interviews, kind of, kind of to make it fair for all the applicants, especially those who cannot, come to California or can't travel to do interviews, to kind of make it fair. We didn't go a hybrid model. We did go, mostly we've been doing over the past, I can say 3 years, Zoom interviews, but you can tell even on a Zoom interview if that applicant is interested, in the program or not. So showing that enthusiasm, it's a big thing as well. I'm not sure, do you want me to jump to the don'ts? Like, these are the do's, these are the kind of expectations, what we look into. Do you want me to jump to the don'ts?
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Of course. So one important thing is that sometimes we ask the question like, okay, like, have you faced any challenges or anything negative along the road during medical school and such? What I look for, myself, is that even if you had past negative experiences, right? Don't speak negatively about past experiences. So this is a don't, right? So even some, of the students has passed probably, difficult rotations, some challenges, as I mentioned. Try to frame these negative experiences in a professional way. And the focus there should be on, what did you learn from this negative experience? And this is I'm not going to hide it. This is a question that we do ask, through our interview process, and probably many residencies ask that. So the focus should be on, try to turn these negative experiences in a professional way and try to get, what did you learn from that? We are all humans. We all go through, challenges and negative experiences. But what is important is that what I need to hear is that, what did you learn from that? Because during residency, there will be negative experiences. There will be, moments that there are going to be stress and challenges. But during a training, what is important there is that what you're learning, right? What you're getting out of this, right? So this is one. Don't try to give generic answers, right? So if I'm asking a question, don't try to give generic answers there. So like, I'm gonna give example, let's say, kind of saying about, I'm just kind of a small example there. So saying that I'm passionate about, let's say, helping people is not enough, right? Try to personalize the answers based on real experiences that an applicant went through or that you went through. So don't try to give like general, every one of us, all of us in this field are passionate, right, about taking care of patients and, treating patients. But it tried to kind of reflect these answers in a way based on real personal experiences. So kind of more personal. Another important thing don't do when you're showing up to an interview, please don't be late or unprofessional with technology. This is very important. And we had this, we had multiple cases that kind of also, I understand there might be technical difficulties sometimes, but please show up on time. If you're expected to interview on that day at that time, the expectation is that you're showing up on time, because that will reflect also that you're interested, in that program. If you don't care, like, okay, I'm just showing up to an interview and I'm showing up late, that can reflect negatively on you. So again, don't be late or unprofessional with technology. So even with virtual interviews, right? So ensure that you're setting up, whether your internet, your camera, your microphone, right? Try to make sure that these are tested beforehand, not just at the moment that you're having that interview. Even if it is a Zoom interview, try to dress professionally to that, right? with a professional background there. We really do look into these things, So again, even if it is a Zoom interview, make sure one of the don'ts also, like, don't forget to follow up. We look into these thank you emails that come after, right? A short thank you email after the interview, whether to the program director or whether to the interviewers there, it really goes along the way. So keep it sincere, keep it professional, but I think this is something that also kind of will add into kind of that pool of things that we look at to kind of determine if that applicant is really interested in our program or not. We really want to get those who are interested, because this is the only way that you're going to thrive in any program. One of the don'ts as well, try not like to share or overshare personal thoughts without framing. So if asked about its challenges, and then again, going back to that, be honest about, the struggles and the challenges, but also focus on resilience and growth. This is what we need to look what we actually look for. And try to stay away from detailed personal hardships, right? At that moment while you're interviewing, what I'm looking for in that applicant, I want to see, yes, every one of us goes through challenges, and, life is not easy. But again, I want to see that, how did that reflect positively on your growth, on your maturity, and how did this make you resilient? So try to focus on that. I think, just kind of covering these are the major big things that I look for, or that will help you, kind of in terms of the do's and don'ts with an interview process. So this is what I have to say for you guys.
Thank you, Dr. Dargam.
Of
Appreciate that.
course.
I think our next topic is how to select a program and what to look for. We have Dr. Supratik Raimaji, Dr. Praveen Narhari, and Dr. Sasank Kraliti.
I'm happy to go first.
Yeah, please do.
Hope you can hear me. I'm on the road. Thanks, Dr. Doshi, for inviting me. That's why my internet might be a little unstable, just preparing you ahead of the time. So selecting programs depends primarily on your geographic preference first, and the type of program you're vying for, whether it's a pure community program versus university affiliated or university sponsored. And then it also depends on your relative strength, meaning the strength of your application, and specialty choices, whether competitive programs versus less competitive programs, that depends on your own relative strength in terms of the quality of your application. When it comes to selecting the programs, you need to go into the details of the program website, where most of the programs will have the criteria for selection for interviews, right? And those could be score cutoffs, whether or not they're going to sponsor visa if you're an IMG, because that matters. Date of graduation is often quoted as one of the cutoffs for selection for interviews. So you need to focus on those, because interview process, especially for IMGs, if they're vying for, sometimes 100 plus programs, it can be costly. So each one adds to the cost. Therefore, it's important to look at the criteria, whether or not your application would be reviewed in the first place. After that, I would definitely look at programs where there are graduates from your own medical school who have been through the program and have had a good track record. So that would also make you choose those programs for interviews. And at the same time, if you're a stronger applicant, then it depends on what you want to do afterwards, right? If you are sold to go into competitive fellowship, then yes, you may want to go into the program that may have in-house fellowship. So that would be, those are the kind of programs you'd want to choose upfront, because a lot of folks already decided what they want to do afterwards. The other important one, and this is more of a subjective one, is cultural fit. Whether or not, if you landed up into that program, you would feel at home or not. That is equally important for you to look at based on what that program has to offer, the kind of residence program already has. And that's really important as well, because sometimes I've seen people match into competitive programs, university programs, but then they're the only one out of 50 residents as only IMG as an example, and then struggle in those programs. So these are the kind of things I would make sure that you review at the time of selecting programs for application.
Thank you, Dr. Imaji.
I can go next.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, thank you for organizing this. I'm Shashank Kraledi. I serve as a professor and chair for family medicine at University of Arkansas in Little Rock. We have 11 family medicine residency programs and preventive medicine residency program within our department. I also serve as a senior vice president for our organization as well. And talking about selecting a program, it's I think there was a very good response from Dr. Rayamaji, and the biggest aspect to look into is whether it's a good fit for you or not. And it almost the analogy that I can bring about is how to go about with making a diagnosis, right? You start with a differential, and as you get more history and more information, you kind of add and remove. It's the same thing with this process as well. You start with here's what I want to apply to, but then as you get your scores, as you get more experience and your research experience, your connections throughout the US, that actually makes you kind of modify that list of what you want to apply to, which programs, and kind of the phenotype of the programs based on all of that information. So you get to that. I would also encourage, I mean, one thing I've always told folks is that you will eventually match into a program if you are persistent and if you work hard. So it's all about, keeping on it, thinking about new strategies and ways of how to approach the interview application and match process, and reaching out to people, asking questions about, is this program going to be a good fit for me or not? Will they consider my application? And so, and definitely want to echo everything Dr. Raimaji also mentioned.
Do you have Dr. Praveen Narahari
Yeah.
or?
Yeah, he is on actually. We just have to unmute him.
Okay. Ms. Vijay, can you unmute Dr. Narahari, please?
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, this is Dr. Narahari. My apologies. I'm joining late. I was at the conference and checking out the hotel and the kids. So I'm a psychiatrist for past 2 years, associate program director for almost 5-6 years in South Alabama. So just want to give you a couple of tips on my experience as a resident applying for the, prospective resident, and then my experience when I was a faculty versus associate program director, now being the program director. So for all the applicants, I know I speak more towards psychiatry, but it can apply to all the specialties in the group you guys are trying to apply for. So when I would look at this way, as you guys think about which program is correct for me, the programs also, as a program director, I look at selecting the interview candidates. I look at certain criteria where I'm not going to go with all the top best candidates in the 500 patients I got, because I know what's the strength of my program and who I am competing with compared to other programs. You're competing with other candidates, I'm competing with other programs. So there are a lot of programs trying to get you. So there is some, that way I'm looking at certain criteria. I may not interview somebody really good because I may think, well, they may go with other residency program. So you may get that, okay, I have really good scores, everything. My friend got an interview from there, but how come I didn't get it? Because we select the criteria that way so that we can have enough. I can't interview 500 candidates, but I had to select the 100 that I'm going to interview. And then, so that's one thing. The programs also look at their strengths and weaknesses when they are selecting the interview candidates. So the second thing is, as a interview candidate, you want to look at your application and compare with all others. And everybody is smart, but on the paper, somebody has a better strength on certain area versus on others. So until you go into the interview, it's hard to prove yourself, except for the paper. Whatever on the paper says, you may have all the 250, 260s in all three, step 1, step 2, but you may not have any US clinical experience or research experience. So that somebody may have scores are average, but they have extensive experience. So when you look at all those, then choose which one you want to apply for, and then go with the application process to shortlist on which program you want to apply. The second thing I would, in psychiatry especially, if you don't see any IMGs in the program last few years, I would not encourage applying, even though your scores are really good. You are very competitive, because that program already having very good number of applicants from the local schools, so they may not need the IMGs to. I know your application is very strong compared to the local medical school, DO or MD school, but they still get the preference. So if you go to the website and you don't see any IMGs in the program in last 5 years, I would not bother applying unless you have connections or you have some externship, you're already doing it and that. Otherwise, if it's a random program and let's say you're applying for UAB, thinking that your score is really good, that's probably your one waste of money or travel. You may not get the interview. That's I would recommend. Okay, so look at that. I know I sounded, but that's the practicality. So you have to look at that. And then the second thing is IMG programs. A lot of them are IMG programs. They get 3,000 applications for 20 positions for internal medicine, or 1,000 applications for psychiatry. It's how they get a certain criteria and ask the coordinator to shortlist all of them, then go through that. So there is a way. I understand it's not fair, but it's hard for the program director to review all 3,000 applications. So he tells coordinator to put those filters, and then. So I would recommend use your connections to see, at least have them review your application. That's all. Once you tell your friend or somebody who's in the residency program and they told the program director one time, that's it. Don't bother them again and again, because that's not going to help. You move on to the next one. So there is one thing that you may want to do when you select in the program and when you selected and applied. So the third thing is visa. Is there J1 visa, H1? But given the competitive landscape, I would not recommend making any reservations. I know they do not sponsor H1. I don't want to apply because it become more competitive, especially in certain categories. So I would recommend go ahead and apply for all the IMG friendly programs, regardless of J1 or H1. Okay. But again, the money cost adds up. So you want to limit on how many and avoid the ones unnecessary ones, even though your scores are really good. And then again, if your scores are bad, or if you have, it doesn't matter. If it is IMG friendly, they look at the whole application. Some programs have that length 5 years, and those, if you look at that, then you can avoid that, as the other doctors mentioned. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Narahari. So that was more focused for IMGs. but this program is for everybody, including IMGs. So, in the
Oh,
next
sorry.
topic, no, that's okay. That's very helpful. I think most of the people attending today are IMGs anyway. So, thank you for
Okay.
helping us with that. And we have done with the interview process, and then how to rank. There's always a dilemma about ranking. So, how to do that? To give some tips about that, I would like to welcome Dr. Praveen Narahari again, Dr. Supratik Raimaji, and Dr. Ashok Kanugula. And anybody can step in, any panelists, if they have,
Oh,
tips or points the others did not cover. So, yeah, please go ahead.
so yeah, so I would recommend when it's ranking, my understanding, the rank system is where it goes with your preference first. So if you have something in mind that is best suits you, you go with that one first rank, and then go with the next and next, not where you probably match, but where you want to be, and put that one as number one, and then go by. And when you're ranking, I would recommend look for the future. If you are internal medicine, you want to do fellowships, how well that program is like a representative. Like if you go for a fellowship interview, is the fellowship program knows that, okay, you exist, this small program, small town. And so that's important. And not only the recommendation letters from your faculty, all those things. So try to go for the one that is very strong in the field and actually reputable. And then you go, there's no limit on how many rank, depends on 15, 20 interviews you got. So go with the first preference, and then go down the list, and then you'll match the wherever the programs choose versus your preference goes first, in my opinion. So that's why go for the best one first.
Okay, Dr. Kanugula, are you on the panel?
Yes, I am here. Thank you, Dr. Katula. So I am at home. I just wanted to thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate a lot of international medical graduates and graduates from here maybe attending this session. Regarding the ranking order, it's very difficult to start at the ranking process. It's all interconnected. Like several of our colleagues mentioned, I just wanted to give a bigger picture of the current situation. The residency is becoming very, very competitive. But for myself, I'm a program director for residency at the Wellstar Health Systems Spalding program. It's a categorical internal medicine with a complement of 30, 10 for each class. We're also starting the primary care track with the 3 more positions. This current year season, we got 5,600 applications. So again, that is going to be very difficult to review all of the applications. Programs use the filters. So every applicant must understand that we have to accept the reality. Certain things applicant cannot change, such as exam scores, for example, graduation year. I would say not worry about it, but again, focus on your strengths and again, what exactly the program is looking for. Again, selecting the programs, like all of our other colleagues mentioned here, identify the programs which you have very high chance and apply those programs. But again, you can go beyond what the list you found out too, depends on your financial situation and other resources. And again, presenting the candidates themselves, application with a lot of information in the application and how you are presenting during the interview, that what matters. Again, like the do's and don'ts we discussed, one of the don't is don't make it very monotonous, because when we interview that day, we have been interviewing several candidates and same questions are being asked. Sometimes we scratch our head because it's already covered. And again, it's all there in the website, not doing the background search of the program before. That can be a red flag. And be yourself, be very authentic, present yourself very well. And uniqueness, again, identify what exactly the program's mission is, what kind of a candidate they're trying to recruit. Once all done that, the next step is the ranking. The ranking, most important thing you understand is the timeline. Again, when that applicant can start ranking, when is the deadline. And of course, the ranking order should be your top choice. A lot of times the applicants feel that, oh, that program is not going to rank me. That's a very competitive program. So that doesn't matter. So that's your list. Whatever you prioritize. Like, let's say, for example, you get an interview by chance, like a University of Harvard, that you know that they are just give you the courtesy interview. They're not going to rank you, right? You know that. Let's say hypothetical scenario, 100%. But still, I would rank that program as a number one, right? That's how you rank your priority. You don't worry about what you get a sense after interviewing from the program. And the timeline, just make sure you don't miss the deadline. The second thing is, it's all connected. Programs rank multiple ways. Like, on the day of interview, they don't do like a lot of panel. We have an interview panel. Everybody get a score. We do like different strategies, like a top third, middle third, and 1/3. We don't open ranking from the beginning onwards, right? We don't create any ranking. We don't assign any rank to the applicants. And programs meet before the rank order submission deadline and review that all this. To remind yourself to the program, connect to the panelists. Like, let's say you interviewed at the program 3 people or 2 people, just establish a connection. And later on, just to send an email, not only after the interview session and also before the rank order deadline, for example. Find a path to connect. It is not like just hey, Dr. So and so, I'm Ashok Kanugula, I interviewed with you. Not like that. Just talk about one research project you are doing and it's still ongoing and you got a result. So I wanted to circle back with you on certain things, like, okay, just to show your enthusiasm and some sort of a path. It's very difficult to get some examples, but again, just connect with the interview panelists and remind yourself. The reason behind that, because programs interview lots of applicants, it's very difficult to remember. Majority of the time, scoring is done on the same day of interview. However, at the time of rank order, it's like very difficult to recollect exactly, objectively, how the interview was done. So again, that's my thing about the ranking. Other than that, there's not much to discuss in the ranking. Again, ranking itself is not an entity. It's a process preceded by each interview.
Thank you, Ashok, Dr. Kanugula.
I'll quickly add.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot to add because ranking is relatively straightforward. But rehash the point that the whole process is in favor of the applicants, and we don't tend to understand that aspect of it. So you go by your preference. So that's a really important point to clarify. I know it's already been done. The second one is if you're going for couples matching, it's of course important to be staying geographical. So that's a no-brainer. And in terms of ranking, the other thing I would want to add is the communication first interview towards ranking or closer to the ranking submission timeline. It's good to communicate, but over communication, over jealousness into the process doesn't help. I would also recommend not, putting out emails like you're my number one program or you're my, first preference, whatever narrative you might want to use. It's better to stay distant from that as well. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you, Dr. Imaji. Any other panelists?
Yeah, let me give my 2 cents on that when picking the program. First thing is, of course, test the interest. So when you're done around New Year's, that's a good time. Happy holidays and something that I mentioned earlier. Let me share my personal experience. I wrote a letter, greeting card and everything. I received a handwritten, printout, mailed letter that the program is interested. So I kind of knew in January that I'm going to match in March. So if they don't respond to you, that's obvious that they are not interested. If you receive a generic response, that means, okay, you are not ruled out yet. So that is one thing. Other things that you should look for when you are ranking your program is, first thing, the program that you would love to train is your dream program. Remember, the program, the matching program will always try their best to match you to any program that has ranked you. So do not undersell yourself that thinking that, I may not have a chance there. Put the program that is your dream program as your top choice. Number two, look at the faculties and the fellowship interest. If it's a university program, they have their own fellowship, they have accomplished subspecialty faculties, go for that. Number three, number four, whatever, look for the size of the program. Bigger the program, the better the call schedule is. If the smaller program, you will be on call very frequently. Once you match, that will become important because your quality of life and you will be on frequent calls and stuff. And then another thing you need to look for is J1 versus H1B visa. Of course, you need step 3 passed to qualify for H1B, but prefer that because later on this J1 waiver job issue, the Conrad 30 issues and other issues are there. You may have to serve in some underserved areas for 3 years. You will have more frequent calls than other colleagues. You will be paid less. So there are a lot of things. I mean, once you match, these things will haunt you. Before you match, you are just desperate that let me get in anywhere possible. But think about all those things. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Rathore. Dr. Woods, Dr. Durgam.
Yeah, one thing I want to add is don't try to game the system, right? So try not to outguess how programs are ranking you, because this can backfire on you. So always try rank the places where you would genuinely be happy to train at. So don't rank a program highly just because you think it's easier to match there, right? Where you wouldn't actually want to go there. So this is an important thing. And then when you're submitting a rank order list, again, submit a full thoughtfully rank order list, because the longer, a longer list actually statistically improves your chances of matching. And if you have really a genuine interest in multiple programs, it's actually safer to rank more than to rank fewer, kind of if you want to, increase your chances of getting a spot. I know that, around around that time of ranking, you ask mentors, you ask advisors for their input. But one thing is that trust yourself, trust your guts, right? Yes, you can take the input of mentors and advisors, but ultimately, your ranking decision, the ranking decision should reflect where you believe that you would thrive most, right? Both professionally and personally. So again, trust yourself in what you're putting out there on your rank order list.
I agree with that. I guess the only thing I would, stress is do not put something on your list that you really don't want to go to, because 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years of an incorrect program is, you're just not going to do your best, and you run the risk of falling into some remediation and other things you just don't want to have to deal with. And I agree. Put the list down that you want. I don't think program directors lie, but on the other hand, program directors say things because they have empathy for the folks that they're interviewing, and they may misguide unintentionally. So please, if you have a program that you want number one, but that's your aspirational program, put it as one. I don't care if someone said you are our person. They go where they go on your list, and if you rank there, if they're number 10 and you go to 10, that's great. You got your program, but you also didn't shy away from opportunities that you really truly were interested in. So even if a program director says you're our number one, they don't have to be your number one if that's the case.
Can I comment?
Sure, Dr. Doshi.
So I think one of the things that is really important for everyone to think about is if you're an IMG, one of the ways that you will have an advantage is if you have already completed residency training. I don't know the system well enough in India to know if everyone who comes over as an IMG has already gotten their specialty over there and they're just coming to this country for whatever reason, or if they're coming right after graduation from medical school. So I think there's two different groups of people if that's the case, if both of them are coming over or wanting to come over. So if you are a graduate who has already been in a specialty for a length of time, I do think that gives you an advantage. Now, I would ask if you're sane as to why you would want to come to another country and redo training, because I would rather have a hot poker in my eye. But what I'm saying is that you can stand apart from some of the other IMGs, because remember, the IMGs that we interview in this country are from all over the world. And so if you have had specific amount of time in training as a general surgeon, as an OB-GYN, as as an internal medicine, or whatever it is that you may have done, that does give you an advantage. Because think about it, a program director is looking for someone who's going to really stand out and be a good worker and who has good knowledge and is going to take care of patients and do a good job. So you're really going to be like probably the chief. And again, you have to figure out why it is you want to go through 3 more years of torture. But that is going to set you apart. The other thing that will really help you is I believe firmly that your best chances of matching are going to be at a place who has seen you multiple times. Now, that's really hard because obviously if you don't have a great way of going to places and visiting places and spending time there, then it could be really hard. But if you're really strategic about it and there is someone who who is in a certain city and they're friendly to IMGs and they have been there and there's, multiple people who you sort of have a connection with, if you can get some maybe observership time at the hospital, there are hospital systems that do allow IMGs, to come in and do an observership. Now that they don't let you really like touch patients and do a whole lot, but you're really there as an observer, and that's how a place can sort of get to know you. You have to be very clear when you call those institutions to ask about whether observerships are possible, because some of them have kind of backed away from doing them. So that's something that you can think about. The other thing is if you're a med student from one of the other I don't know if you're all from this country or from India. I'm just not sure. And I apologize for not knowing that, but
it's a mixed group basically. So yeah.
I'm sorry.
We have mixed group, some IMG.
So it's a big audience of all different types of things. So right. If you can spend time as a med student, if you have the opportunity to actually do part of a rotation at a place you're interested in, even if it is like an enrichment experience, like a weekend, any time that you can get in front of people. And let's say you're not allowed to actually do a rotation because you don't have that ability. You could still call and ask if you're local, if you want to spend time in the area, to be a part of their didactics. Hey, I'm really interested in applying. Can I come and sit in on your didactics for the next few weeks? I'm actually going to be in town. Would you allow that? That's another great way to try to meet people, because the residents have a huge say in where people go on the rank list. So even though the rank is based on the very objective stuff in general, once it's put in its order, then the residents and faculty move people around, and it's based on their experiences with a lot of those people. So I would really think about that as a way to try to set yourself apart as well. And I definitely agree that the more consistent follow-up and communication that you do with the programs, the better, because they're going to see that you're just, a really kind person. You're good with follow-up. You're interested. You're trying to also socially interact a little bit. I think it was great. The other physician who talked about, sending a holiday card, like all of that stuff is just really great. It does actually make a difference, I think.
Thank you, Dr. Doshi. Dr. Pandya, you want to go next?
Yes. I think the last agenda and topic we have tips for IMG, and after this topic, we will go for question and answer. So if you have any particular question, please share in the group chat. So we have 4 panelists, but everybody, all the panelists can join because this is tips for IMG, and we want to make sure whatever they can get your valuable input. So we have Dr. Jaiveer Rathore, Dr. Srinivas Aragola, Dr. Ashok Kanugula, and Dr. Sasank Kraliti. We can start with anyone.
I can go first. Myself, Srinivas Aragola, I'm a interventional pain management physician, board certified in PMNR, pain medicine, addiction medicine, and EMG. I am actively involved with trying to work with IMGs for the last 2 years to help them get into residency. To this talk I'm talking is focused only for IMGs based on my experience over the last 2 years, getting feedback from matched candidates. And so if you have not taken any steps, the first thing is you want to pass the steps in your first attempt. Any attempt more than once is a negative thing for you. For step 2, as you know, for step 1, the scores are not a matter now, it's just pass or fail. So step 2 scores do matter. The higher the score, better your credentials are, especially for competitive programs. Like internal medicine, you want to stay above 245. For neurology, you want to stay above 240. For family practice, you want to stay above 235. So things like that would definitely matter. So take a lot of caution in preparation for your step 2, take your time and do well in your step 2. And if you want to be more competitive, you want to pass your step 3 before you apply. Get more than 220 in step 3. That will really help you and put your application ahead. And that will help you to get more interviews if you are also done with step 3. You have an edge if you have already done post-graduation back in your home country. If you have done in internal medicine, try to apply only in internal medicine. If you have done in anesthesia, try to apply only in anesthesia. If you're done in OBGYN, try to do only OBGYN application. And don't do your US clinical rotations before you finish your step 2. You want to have adequate clinical knowledge to go and work in rotations so that you can show and share your knowledge when questions are asked so that you can get good LORs. So letter of recommendations, if they are good, that will enhance your application. And make sure you do at least 4 to 6 months of clinical rotations in US before you apply. And take part in research, either poster presentation, case presentation, or publications. And as well, try to involve yourself in voluntary activities, leadership activities. All this matters and makes your application more stronger. And usually for IMGs, it is taking anywhere from 1 to 3 years to match. So if you are more competitive, you can get the edge and you match in your first attempt. So otherwise, you'll go into the second attempt and third attempt. So don't get depressed if you don't match in your first time. I'm seeing very well-qualified candidates not matching in their first attempt. It is happening like that. And so just continue to stay in healthcare field, be it involved in research or clinical rotations. You will definitely get matched in the second attempt. It doesn't matter how many interviews you get. I have seen candidates who got only one interview and matched. I have seen candidates who have got 45 interviews and matched. And also, the time when you get your interview, it can be as late as middle of February. So don't lose hopes till all the end of February is over. So be positive, be confident, be enthusiastic, and have gratitude for what you are when you are doing what you are doing. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. The next.
Yeah, this is Dr. Kangula Ashok. I totally agree with Dr. Irregular. There's some very good points he mentioned. I was reading in the chat, there are several questions. One thing I just wanted to emphasize about the geographic preference. Again, like I mentioned earlier, the applicant must be fully aware of the program, what kind of a candidates they're looking for. It varies. The program, like several community hospital, they're trying to recruit the physicians who really they wanted to keep in their area to serve their own patients, right? So with that being said, some of you may have applied this decision. You understand what the signaling is. AAMC provided that opportunity specialty specific signals. Like for example, if it's for internal medicine, there are some silver signals and gold signals. Programs look for it too. Is the signaling is compared, like going along with your geographic preference and all of it, right? Gold signal, silver signal. So that helps the program. Another way to streamline, like process, filter out this thousands of applicants who are genuinely interested in the program. So you should look for that and utilizing the signaling appropriately and substantiating your interest during the interview. That is one thing. And other thing, the post-graduation in India, if you had post-graduation in the same specialty you're applying, that is really a strength for that applicant. But how you prepare an application, be careful. I have seen some applicants who mentioned that they have done the post-graduation. However, it is not clearly reflecting in the right section on application preparation. It is not necessary to be ACGME accredited program like a post-graduation. Like you can put like a graduation year choosing it correctly. That would help the programs get your application falls in the filters. So make sure you present that post-graduation year, and in case if you change the specialty in the US, it is different post-graduation back home and you're applying for a different specialty. You really have to have a good justification in writing, either in the personal statement or during the interview. It matters. Programs may not really believe your genuine interest in your specialty since you did some other specialty. So, but however, things change, right? Our career paths change all the time. So that how you support that is what matters. Cutoffs, graduation year cutoffs. Again, websites mention the graduation year. Majority of the programs just say that to get fresh graduates. That doesn't mean they go out of the cutoff. So again, that's a program by program. Like, you cannot simply not applying for the program just because you don't meet. And you talk to the seniors, for example. There are candidates that can get interviews. They got interviews from the programs where they did not met the graduation year cutoff. Scores, like step 3 score is important or not important. You can't really change that fact, whatever score you have. So I don't worry about it. Again, step 3 is just for the licensing exam, state licensing exam. A lot of programs do not require step 3 except they're willing to sponsor the H-1B visa. But at the time of application, they don't need step 3. But having step 3 in your CV is definitely an advantage. It's less headache to the programs after starting the residency, and they don't have to really worry about. Every institution has a step 3 policy. They don't promote the applicant to the next level of training, either a second year or a first year. They must have the step 3. It can be difficult to prepare that exam and do that during the training. So completion of step 3 is always a positive thing. Again, believe in yourself, and again, if somebody is always trying hard and going in the right direction, not giving up, it has proven that in the past they secured a spot for the training. So never give up. That's all the few things I'm thinking of by reading the chat. I can provide some insight.
Thank you.
All right. Should I go next?
Sure.
Dr. Rathore, please go ahead.
Okay, so one point on that, what the program is looking for. So the importance of step 3 is every program wants their residents to pass the step 3. Eventually, it reflects on the board certification as well. And then that's how the program is looked at. If some of the sections of their residents do not pass the boards, it reflects bad and they could be put on probation. So they don't want that. So if you offer them step 3 results already, it shows that there is a high likelihood that you're going to pass the boards eventually, and that looks good. So the program is looking for dependable, reliable team player resident who would pass the boards, would go on to do certain good things like fellowships and other things. So that's the program wants to look for. So that is one thing when you ask the program that what are you looking for. Number 2, step 3 is important. So try to do some clinical experience in your home country as well, some kind of junior residency that gives you a good clinical background to take the step 3 and pass it successfully. So that's really important. Again, the scores, every program has their average match score points. So you can guess that where you stand a chance. If you have 230, there is a list of programs that matched around that time. If you have 260, that program is unlikely to match you, even though you are scoring a whole lot more than that program, because in the background we think that why would this guy come to us? Okay, so you have to gauge that where is your matching chances. If you score high, some programs who go unmatched or have a very low scoring students, they won't match you because they think that this guy has too good of a score and he's not going to come to our program. So that's really important. Apart from that, one thing that many people don't talk about, and it's important and it reflects in your interviews, is assimilation. So try to learn about the American culture, geography, history, culture, movies, games, because many times interviews go on a little bit casual about your interest, about your hobbies. And if you know about America, it helps. It's helpful to connect with the faculties. It's helpful to connect with the patients eventually, because when you see them in the clinic and thing, you can engage in some conversation, lighthearted conversation about sports and movies and other things, which makes you, they feel like you're a part of us. So try to assimilate, try to learn more about this thing. One important point I wanted to talk about is individual personal statements. Most students have one personal statement that they attach to all the programs. When we are interviewing, we look at what's the connection of this student to this particular program or this particular city or the state or the region of the country. So if you have, so write your personal statement, if not every program, at least to the region of the country. For example, I'm in Florida. So you can talk about this. You've been here before, you have done some rotations here, show some connection. Because we always wonder if this guy is going to come here or not. Okay, so that's really important. Show some connections over there. And what else here? Yeah, one thing is, I mean, they look for that. Are you going to be a good ambassador for their program? When you go out, you're going to be somewhere else. Are you going to reflect good on the program? So make sure you have all these things that we just talked about so that the program feels comfortable that you are a good match for them. Thank you.
I can go last. I think the important thing for any application is the story that you're telling. So especially for IMGs, it's important for you to explain and be able to share the narrative of why did you move to this country? Why are you applying for residency here? And why are you applying for residency in this specialty and to this program? And if you can create such a narrative that flows through your entire application, and your letters of recommendation support that, your personal statement is something that conveys that message, that is very effective. A lot of the times applicants use templates, and when you use templates, you lose the bigger picture of why. And a lot of the times the programs are looking for that connection. They're looking for, is this candidate going to come to our program? Is this candidate going to be a good leader? Is this candidate going to be a good resident? And are they really interested in our program and in the specialty? Are they lying to us, and are they applying to 6 other specialties? So these are all questions that programs are going through as they're interviewing candidates. So the most effectively you communicate your story and the why, that will help the program leadership to choose you, to rank you, and to rank you well. So that I think is a very important factor that I've seen a lot in applications that, especially for IMGs, that is missing. So try to come up with your own narrative. Try to check with 5, 6 people to make sure that your personal statement, your letters, and everything match. Don't use the same personal statement. Create 6 personal statements if you're applying to, different specialties or different programs, and make sure that each of them are communicating a strong message and interest. And then interview well. I mean, one thing that really trumps everything else in the rank order list, by the time you got there, is you got an interview and you had an opportunity to spend time with the program leadership. So interview well, communicate well, pre and post interview communication, put effort for all of that. And that goes a long way as well. I mean, there's always these other things about the scores and, the factors, but then the bigger picture is very important. So I would emphasize on that as well.
I could quickly add, there's a question in the chat as well. For all IMGs graduates going unmatched, choosing home country residency versus US observerships, I would also want to add, there are situations where folks haven't matched for a few years and feel lost. You can vie for non-accredited fellowships. Several fellowship programs that are less competitive in smaller community programs or lesser tiered university programs, like example would be infectious disease, nephrology. I'm talking about internal medicine specialty. You would have an opportunity to do a fellowship without doing residency. And I've seen this trend become a new thing, where lots of these IMGs are first doing fellowships in a non-accredited programs, and they go on to do residency afterwards. And most of the times, given the relative performance in the program, they will be taken into the parent internal medicine program itself. After which you can take both boards and then be able to do whatever, internal medicine or subspecialty practice. So that is one thing I want to add. And in terms of previous Sasank's actually message, Dr. Karadis, for IMGs, I think preparing for interview, mock interviews with your mentors, you don't want to sound like a robot when you do the interviews, but at the same time, I've been through that path myself, 20 years ago. So I would add that as well.
One thing I would like to talk about is the plan B. You're putting your heart and soul into it. You did everything you could in the time frame that you had. You applied, you interviewed, and then you go unmatched. So you should have a plan ahead of time that in case I don't match, what I'm going to do. And one of the things that usually people lack is step 3 or some research. So, and step research, you don't get it at a short notice. So you have to apply several months ahead of time. So make sure you write emails to a bunch of programs, review them, go to clinicaltrials.gov, look up these particular institutions and research that you are interested in. Do the city courses, CITI collaborative initiative. There are certain 5 or 6 different research things. When you write, I see this on various forums that say I did cold emails. Cold email is a waste of time. You have to write warm emails specific to that attending. If you are interested in neurology and neuropsychiatry, you must review my profile and write an email very specific what I have done and how can you contribute in some research. So same way, reach out to all these top institutes, look at these faculties over there, what they have published before, tell them that you did this, you did that. I have CT courses certification, and I'm willing to contribute, and I'm willing to stay there at least 6 months, which a B1 B2 allows. Then they will say, okay, this is somebody serious, and they will have you. So keep that as a backup option, because you will have to add something on your profile if you stand a chance next time. So always have that backup plan before you apply. Thank you.
I want to make a quick comment. I know all the panelists had excellent input on what to and what not to do, and something specific for the IMGs and for graduates in general. I think one quick thing that I want to bring it up is, I know medicine is a long career path. We put a lot of effort and spend a lot of time into this. Your personal goals should also match your professional goals. Don't just focus on your professional life, also focus on your personal goals too, either family or other commitments that you have. For example, like most of the people that train in a program, they usually end up working in that, settling down in that area. There is a national statistic, if I'm right, like 30 to 40% of the people. If you find a couple of programs that are about the same, I know some of the FMGs are traveling a long distance to come here and train here. They want to train in the best place, and that's what you should focus on, but also focus on your personal goals too. If it's some place is very important for you and you want to work there and settle down, use that as one of the criteria in kind of coming up with your rank order list. The other quick thing I want to mention is, I know the program directors, after the interview, they respond in generic messages, and I respond in generic messages most of the times. I put positive notes, and like Dr. Woods mentioned, that don't get carried away by the responses from the program directors. Sometimes with the NRMP rules, you cannot say that I'm going to rank you number 1, or you're more likely you're in the top 5%, or those kind of stuff. Sometimes you're not able to say certain things. So just be patient and understand that there are some NRMP rules, especially going through the SOAP process. The rules are very strict. Most of the program directors don't report. If you're going through the SOAP process and you contact the program, or somebody else contacts on behalf of you, but just be very careful about the rules of the NRMP.
Thank you. I think there are some panelists who have other responsibilities of rounding. We are running a little late. Thank you, Dr. Doshi, for joining. I think Dr. Randy Woods left, but if you can stay back, that'd be great. Whoever can, if they don't have any rounding responsibilities or other patient care or family responsibilities, so please stay back. We do have some questions. Some of them have been answered already by the panelists, and thank you for that. But some of them have not been answered. So Jishan Mansouri, who is the past president of MSRF, and Dr. Srinivas Aragola, they both have been compiling the unanswered questions so that the other panelists can answer whoever is remaining in the meeting. So Dr. Mansouri and Dr. Aragola, so please go ahead and ask those questions.
Sure, Dr. Katula, thank you so much for the introduction. I'm an assistant professor of psychiatry at Yale. And a few questions that were not answered was, one is the quality of the letter versus who writes the letter. So like if the person has done extensive work in India, getting a letter from there versus getting a letter from a US attending, again, even in the US attending scenario, if an American graduate who is an US attending versus an international graduate who is an US attending, do those things matter, or it's ultimately the content of the LOR that is the king? We can start with Dr. Jaivi Rathore. Dr. Rathore, you're unmuted you.
All right, thank you. I don't know, some technical issue. I can't tell about. So the whole purpose of this letter of recommendation is that to get some sincere evaluation by a U.S. physician. In other countries, to be honest with you, we cannot rely a letter coming from somewhere else, how they have been doing that. 1 second. Okay. So, and then your performance in a U.S. healthcare setting, that how well you would perform. You get to see the intricacies of the healthcare delivery system, the interaction with the patient education, insurance, malpractice issues, so many different aspects of it. And this is different. This is unique. It's not same as any other country. So you have to practice, come shadow. There are many programs which are observerships. They get to just limited because you don't have a chance to perform more than just stand there and answer some questions, or a hands-on. So hands-on U.S. clinical experience is always better. The tele thing, there are a lot of forums that talk about tele observership. I don't think that's useful. Many of my colleagues, they roll their eyes when they hear about tele rotations. So don't waste your time and energy on that thing. Always try to get more, at least one more than 3 recommendation rotation, because you don't know by the end of the rotation if you feel like that attending is happy with your performance and is going to write a strong letter of recommendations or not. Many busy rotations, many university settings, attendings, they're super busy. They don't have time. So some of them just give you like a very template performance letter, which may not be that helpful. So talk to the attending when you're rotating, and let them know that, you're so interested in this and showed your interest in it. Do some presentation, follow up on the questions that the attending ask you, so that they can see that you are excited about it and they're happy to write good letters, strong letters of recommendations. And sometimes some attendings, if they find you are really a qualified person, they might recommend to the program director if you rotated there, or call for you if there is a personal connection with the attending there. So I think after your scores, U.S. clinical experience and letters of recommendation is the strongest point in your application. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rathore. To add to that question for Dr. Dargam, when we say that letter is personalized, what kinds of things are you looking for in that personalized letter? And does the length of letter matter? Like instead of 1 page, if someone has gone ahead and written a 2-page letter for someone, would that carry more weightage, or that's just a waste of time?
Don't write more than 1 letter. Nobody reads it. As soon as
Exactly.
I said, I'm already turned off. I'm not going to read it. Even a 2 paragraphs is good enough. And let me share you my personal experience. Okay. My professor, my chairman, wrote a letter for me for my fellowship. And he wrote a bunch of things which were like specific to me, that he shows interest in presenting certain cases. He's quick to grab some clinical details and write it up as a case reports. That tells you that it is personalized. It is not a generic one. And then certain good qualities, that he's a dependable, and his fund of knowledge is great and punctual. These are all good adjectives to be on. But there was one line that he wrote, which probably got me into Johns Hopkins, was that in my 35 years of career, I have not seen anybody else so motivated and so dedicated to do epilepsy fellowship. I think one line. So somewhere in that letter, there has to be something really personal and something really where the letter writer is putting his own reputation for you. Because what if I was not as good and I reflect bad on that attending? So the program will see him as, okay, we're not going to care for your letters going forward. So when I write my letters for my students, I'm putting my reputation at stake. So it should reflect that. And we will do that honestly. Okay, and that's the reason here you have a skin in the game, because we are practicing in US. We want to make sure we keep our reputation intact. Somebody who is not in US doesn't have a skin in the game. Who cares if somebody from India wrote a bad letter and has no implications for it? So make sure you get a letter from a US physician. Make sure you have one backup. One thing I commonly hear is here at the end of around the application in September, that some of the attending gets too busy, and they are actually, not to blame them. they don't have time to respond. And many of my students reach out to me and say, sir, I'm not hearing back from that attending, and I'm dependent on that. I need my third letter. So make sure you request for the letter well ahead of time, and give them enough time, because attending physicians are super busy, as you all would agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rathore. Dr. Dargam?
Yeah, I would want to add here as well. So I definitely agree that it's not about the length of the letter, right? It should be, again, even if it's, 2 paragraphs, or, the letter should talk specifically about you. So the letter should not be like generic comments, right? And that applies to anyone. It should reflect, your personal interactions, the observations, the stories that whoever is writing you this letter has witnessed when they worked with you. It should comment on, your personalities, right? Kind of when I'm reading it, I can, tell whether, the applicant, you know, it should reflect, or when I'm reading through the lines of it, I need to kind of expect your character, it tells me about your personality, about your work ethics, about your skills, about your potential. The letter should reflect all these characteristics, right? So it should more be personal. Again, it should not be like just a resume or something that applies to everyone. I need to know you through this letter. So again, it should talk about you specifically, not a kind of a generic, and you can tell, you can differentiate easily between, a generic version versus a really solid letter that is just talking about your characteristics, again, your character, your experiences, your work ethics, your skills, all of that.
Thank you, Dr. Dargam. In the interest of time, we'll just have one question for 2 people. So the next question is research. Quality versus quantity. Doing it in India versus doing it in US. Doing it as part of a research fellowship, by doing it by yourself. What is your take on how people should think about research as an IMG? Dr. Taliti? Dr. Shashank Ralati?
Yes. So yeah, I mentioned in one of the comments in the chat about quantity and quality. So it's you have to, in your CV, try to get both if possible, right? I mean, you want to get the numbers to make sure that you have, enough publications and presentations. So filling that quantity piece bucket, but then quality is what matters more. So if you are working on a research article, if you worked with a researcher and have several publications, understand research, and again, something that you could bring to the residency program. I think a lot of residency programs struggle with getting scholarly activity and meeting those requirements. So if you have such a strength, highlighting that and talking about it during the interview as well, to say, this is a strength that I can bring to the program. I can support other residents as well. So anything that you have in that area will be helpful. And again, just like any other experience, US experience, research experience is preferred over non-US.
Thank you. Dr. Dargam, same question.
I definitely agree, in terms of, US experiences and US work is definitely preferred over, non-US work. It doesn't matter, again, the quantity does not matter as the quality matters here. And if you have, a research experience, it's always preferable of not having any, because there are applicants that apply that never had any research experience. So it is a plus when you start to try to kind of go through. Now you screened all the applications and now you sent for interviews, and now I'm trying, to get my rank order list. Now it's time to look into all these specifics, right? Whoever had research work, whoever did the step 3. So kind of these are the specifics that, as we kind of trying to reduce or sum up that number or come up with our own rank order list in a program, it does matter. So again, quality and not a quantity. US preferred over definitely a non-US. Each of the specialties that you're applying to, each of them has a scholarly activity. FM, family medicine, for example, has a scholarly activity requirement through the training. So definitely the more you have experience in achieving that scholarly activity, the better.
Thank you, Dr. Dargam. To add to the question for Dr. Rathore, how important is PubMed indexing? Like, is that like something that is to be considered very strongly, or it doesn't matter? The quality of the research trumps any indexing, be it PubMed, be it any other engine.
So basically, any research is helpful that just shows us that the student is interested, they have that aptitude, and they work on that thing, and they have some experience. Of course, if it's a PubMed indexed, and if it is a journal of high impact factor, the higher the impact. But it's always better to have some publication, be it as simple as a case review, case report, case series, or some kind of meta-analysis. One thing I usually these days I've seen on many forums and stuff, that some students of some particular countries, they have like 20 papers. They are 10 papers, 20 papers. It makes me doubt the authenticity of that, because having gone through that process, it takes time and effort to publish something. It is unreal. There is something ghost authorship or something like that, that if somebody is getting too many publications at that particular level when they're just graduated and they're applying for USMLE. So be careful on those things. Make sure you know your research work inside out when you're going for interviews, because many times the whole interview could go on your research work. And if you don't know that inside out, it will be taken as a little bit fishy. So again, research is important. That shows your towards it. So any kind of research is helpful, but a high impact factor, of course, is much better. Myself being NIH funded, Harvard published researcher, I can attest to that it is really important. Always keep a backup application for research fellowship somewhere. I first and don't get disheartened if you get a trivial work at a research. When I started out, I was given a data entry work at Cook County Hospital in Chicago. All day I would just sit and enter the data. There was no authorship, there was no nothing. But you get to learn the basics of it, and then you will climb the stairs on that. So do that. Do the city courses that I mentioned just earlier. And learn. There are a whole lot of like Johns Hopkins have a research elective. If you're a medical student or even a grad, apply for those. Learn the basics before you seek a bigger responsibility of being a lead author. So yeah, do everything on that.
Well, all good things have to come to an end. The time is 12:02. We have been on call for the last 2 hours, and the panelists have done an impeccable job. And I thank everybody. Hopefully the students get something out of that. The local students as well as IMGs, and again, as mentioned before, a lot of questions have been answered in the chat box. Also, I will have this program available on AAPI website, which is AAPIUSA.org. So please visit that. And I want to thank all our panelists, Dr. Shirin Doshi, Dr. Praveen Narahari, Dr. Rakesh Surapaneni, Dr. Shashank Kraleti, Dr. Randy Woods, Dr. Hannity Abu Dargam, all the way from California, and Dr. Ashok Kanugula from Georgia, Srinivas Aragola from Ohio, Dr. J.V. Rathore from Florida, the neurologist Supratik Raimaji from Michigan. I thank my chair, Dr. Himanshu Pandya, who has done a wonderful job, and Dr. Jishan Mansoori, Dr. Srinivas Aragola for compiling all the questions. And I wish you all the best, all the candidates who are applying for residencies this year or in future. This is, I think, a very, very useful program for all of you. And if you have anything, some of the panelists were gracious enough to leave their email addresses. So send an email to that address and they can respond. But again, thank you all so much for being here today. So
and thank you, Dr. Katula.
Thank you, Dr. Rathore. Yeah,
it's the first time such a big IMG mentoring program has happened, and thank you, Dr. Mansoori, as well, for all the work that you've been doing. I'm appreciative of that. Thank you, and all the fellow panelists. Thank you, all the students, and for this opportunity.
Yeah, we also have an IMG mentorship committee now, which was proposed by Dr. J.V. Rathore and Dr. IMG-specific, myself, and some other interested, doctors who are in that committee. If you're interested as a committee member, so please let me know. I can put you in that because a lot of people who are coming from different countries need some help. They do not have visas. They don't know. I did a survey recently in which about 70% of them mentioned that they don't have any mentor. So without having a mentor, it is very difficult for people to navigate through these complexities, like going through the residency application process and everything. So I think they need some mentorship, and the committee, we are hoping that it can help some people. So again, thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Dr.
everyone.
Katula.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.